To me, the great performer is someone who's understood how to manage all those stresses as you're performing and be able to still give a good performance
Yeah.
because they're expected and you have sort of a game plan. So that's what this checklist we're going to talk about. First up, the sound system. And obviously, we all have dealt with sound systems and issues of trying to figure out a sound system. However, all these digital products can have so many screens and layers for people to jack up and screw up that you can spend hours troubleshooting just how to get the signal to flow properly. Because
where if it was an analog thing, you say
yeah,
it's this fader and this button, and no, they've got the cable plugged in wrong. Problem solved. But I've showed up at gigs thinking there'd be a sound person, and they're like, "Here, you're doing sound," and then you're like, for my own show? Oh crap. Then there's the one where you show up and the sound system is provided mostly, but then you realize that like, oh, we don't have mics and cables. You guys were supposed to bring those. And you're like, no email or website told me that, which is why I always bring a box of mics and cables. And then I guess the last one is if you can't play the tracks, what are you going to do about it? Can you do a stripped down version?
Yeah. No, I think a lot of it to me is like understanding the plan B. What happens if this? And so you've sort of walked through some of those scenarios in your head. So let's talk about the venue a little bit, because that I think is something that night after night can be a mental challenge. You can have a venue where from the moment you walk in, you feel so welcomed and appreciated, and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. I'm just happy to be here. And you can also walk in where they seem disinterested and upset that you're there, even though you're booked.
Somehow you're a nuisance, even though they're a music club.
It seems to happen a lot at music venues. Like there's just a wide range. So that can just throw you off your game if you walk in and someone's feeling a little confrontational, a little put out that you're there. Things like loading in and loading out can be an issue. All sorts of stuff can come up that you don't necessarily get through in advancing the show and are just dealing with day of.
What do we have next on the list? Oh, the breakdown of the body and mind.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that people don't anticipate when they go on tour, especially tour, like if you're playing one-offs once a month in town, it's not as big of a deal. But when you're on tour, just the fatigue and grumpiness that sets in both inside yourself and amongst your crew that's on the road with you. And if you're not prepared for that, that can be a real issue. In fact, the one thing that shocked me when I started touring, like right out of college, because all I wanted to do was be on the road and playing shows, because I thought that's what everybody wanted to do. And how cool is it to be on the road playing shows? I was shocked to see how many amazing musicians, when they actually toured for real, just lost their mind. Like, I cannot do this. I cannot handle being on the road. I am out of here. So it is mentally taxing, and there's a lot of fatigue. And if you're not prepared for it or understand when it's happening, it can really cause a lot of problems.
What's next on our list?
Oh, we have outdoor shows listed. So,
my least favorite gig. The acoustics are terrible because not only are you not in your element, but neither are the sound people, and the gear that they are accustomed to using, usually indoors, can be very different. You know, the way you decide to mic something could even be different outdoors. The heat, the cold, the way that sound just like escapes into nothingness instead of like bouncing back in a nice acoustic way.
Yeah, it's crazy how it sounds like you're playing to nobody. I've played on some massive festival stages, and when I stepped, the one I'm thinking of, I didn't have in-ear monitors, but I stepped away from the monitor, and there's these, giant structure of speakers hanging in. It felt like nothing was coming out of them just because there's no room to reflect anything back to you. It's just the weirdest feeling and experience. We've had one more section of like other artists. Dealing with other artists on tour can be a big thing that takes your head out of the game. Their bad attitudes, this competitiveness, especially around like sound checking and time slot. Everyone hates that band that it's like they're getting the one more song indicator from the crew and they play 3 more, and then they go way over their set. That can take you off your game. The other thing is gear will break, and cables break mysteriously all the time. So have an action plan of like, okay, if I'm in the middle of the set and I break something or something's not working or we're in sound check and it's all stressful because something's not working, how do I go through the plan of troubleshooting? Because oftentimes people are just like running around, not really having a plan of how to troubleshoot their issues. The last thing I have on my list here, vehicle issues. Your vehicle will break down. You better have a plan for that. Get AAA, know what you need to do. If you got a bigger vehicle, understand what is needed to tow something like that or the kind of service places you need because it will happen. It's a part of touring. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if your vehicle's new or old. Touring puts stress on them that they were not designed to go through for that many miles every day, and you will break down. So if you don't have a plan or understand maybe the quirks of your vehicle, like the kind of things it needs or where it can be serviced, you better figure it out.
One last thing that I've
Okay.
encountered a lot that is out of your control. You show up at the venue and you realize they don't have a proper stage or they have no stage, and you're now supposed to set up in the corner or in an alcove right next to the foot traffic of their people that are there to drink and not to see you, or their wait staff who then are coming by and knocking into the boom mic all the time, and suddenly the mic hits your teeth and now you have to visit the dentist. So
See, that's why I'm not a singer. I just can't lose these front teeth.
well, I don't know what you do in that situation, how you prepare. I guess in Mike, I just stay hyper alert during the set.
Yeah.
But I know some people who will just move their mic back and then like put chairs around it or tape off. I always feel like that seems a little walled
Pretentious,
off or pretentious or something.
standoffish.
Yes, and but no, like that's definitely a thing where like you're not even a venue. Why are you having a squeeze in the corner?